Hello, hello and welcome. Welcome back to Skåne and welcome to the 20th episode. And as we head out of the depot, and we have the large coal hill next to the tracks and a freight train headed by Karl the 15th from Kristianstad Hessleholms Railway in front of us, we can see most of Hessleholms yard around us. On today's menu is the HHJ, Helsingborg Hessleholms Railway, opened in 1875. Hässleholm was, and still is, a major junction where the southern main line passes through and branches from Kristianstad, the CHJ, from episode 10. Helsingborg, HHJ, in this episode, and Vittsjö Markaryd being a WHJ in a future episode, all connect. When the southern main line arrived in 1860, there was nothing here, but a station was needed in the area and named after a nearby manor. Hässleholm turned into a city by 1914. The CHJ came in from the left just before the station, as we slow down to a halt. As the southern main line to Eslöv, Lund and Malmö turn left south of the station, we will turn right and head into the woodlands. Straight ahead, as we turn, you can see Lake Finja in the distance. This part of Skåne is mainly woodland and not at all densely populated. So you see Lake Finja there on the left. The HHJ was planned as Helsingborg's connection to the main line, but due to a state intervention, Helsingborg entered into a forced marriage with Landskrona over the connection from Eslöv to obtain a generous state loan. The plans for a connection to Hässleholm still remained, but it was not seen as urgent. And we are now crossing Helgeå on a stone arch bridge. Landskrona badly needed some hinterland, as the southern ridge, Söderåsen, cuts Landskrona off from the rest of Skåne as it rises only 20 kilometers east of the city, and came up with a plan to build a railway to Ängelholm. This would cut Helsingborg off from its hinterland, give access to the coal mines at Ekeby and Billesholm, as well as an access to the rich agricultural area around Rönneå. Shares were sold, investments made, but that of course did not go unnoticed. As we are approaching Tyringe station, in this version a combination of the real-life Tyringe and Västra Torups stations, with peat and clay transporting narrow gauge lines. That also transported fish from small ponds in the forest, timber and produce from the farms it passes. Landskrona had to act quickly. The main fighter for the line was consul and grain trader Petter Olsson. The first meeting was held in August 1872. Less than 6 months later, the Navy started on the project, and the line was opened 30 months later. In the meantime, Helsingborg town had made a substantial investment, same with merchants and craftsmen in the local community, and the local parishes around the line. Landskrona and Helsingborg Railways granted the HHJ right to use Ramlösa and Helsingborg stations and the line between them for eternity at a minimal cost. Vallåkra Coal Company got the Parliament's approval to build a branch line from Bjuv station to the mines at Billesholm. The approval was then handed on to the HHJ, together with the funds for constructing the line. The entire line from Ramlösa to Hässleholm, 79 kilometers, opened in March 1875 and managed to beat Landskrona Ängelholm Railway to the target, forcing the LEJ to pay a princely sum to get access to Åstorp station, where the two lines would cross when it opened the following year. In the forest land, sometimes there is a single house, tiny field in the middle of the forest, the middle of nowhere. The soil was often poor, and so was the people living there, alone on a tiny farm in the forest, often with only one cow, one pig, a few chicken, and a small potato field. That's the nature of the woodlands. And as we approached Perstorp, a small village that turned into an industrial hub with local narrow gauge railways connecting produce to the station, the Perstorp company was started in 1881 by William Wendt. Its main products early on was acetic acid, as in spirit vinegar, tar and methanol, all of them from wood sources. Perstorp's spirit vinegar is still one of the more popular brands in Sweden, by the way. At the end of World War I, Perstorp was the first company in Scandinavia to produce plastic that was isolate, similar to backlight. And in Sweden, the top of a plastic covered table is still known as a Perstorp top. After World War II, Perstorp became the leading plastic manufacturer in the country and is today specialized in chemical product of different types, including products for plastic. And we saw a small farm by itself in the forest. Sometimes in the forest land you will also find a little village. A small village with a church, a couple of houses, a couple of small fields. That's just another feature of the forest land, and it comes up here on the right. You could have a small lake. There are many lakes in the small lakes in the forest lands, and we have an autosave. How convenient! And we continue. But there is more to it, because all of a sudden, open sesame, and we left the forest land and came out into the open. Between Perstorp and Klippan stations, there is a clear border between the forest land and the open, fertile plain. The eye can meet the horizon as you pass one farm after the other. Rather rich lands. This is where the grain Peter Olsson wanted to connect the harbor to Helsingborg too grows. And he would make a fortune out of it. Not only him actually, but the town itself. So in from the left comes the future line from Röstånga and Ljungbyhed. Klippan's paper mill on the left there was founded in the 16th century at a small waterfall in Rönneå. When the railway arrived, the station house built at Klippan station was the largest on the line, paid entirely by the paper mill. It even had a private waiting room for the mill's CEO, of course. Klippan station got its name from the factory, not from the village. The village was actually called Åby, but there was already a station in Sweden with that name. To the right, the future EKJ towards Ängelholm. Klippan would eventually take the name from the station and grew into an industrial center as well, with leather industry, tile factory and a large dairy. And we are crossing Rönneå. And we have the southern ridge, Söderåsen, to the left of the forest. And in a minute we can see on the right side Tomarps Castle, built in the 16th century. The estate has medieval roots. One of the stations left out on this line is Kvidinge, which has a memorial monument over Crown Prince Carl August, as this is the place where he fell off his horse and died in 1812. This is one of the what-if moments in Swedish history. One thing is for sure, there hadn't been any Bernadottes on the Swedish throne had the accident not happened though. The next station will be Åstorp, another major junction. At Kärrberga, a kilometer east of Åstorp, was the connection point for the future SSJ Skåne-Smålands Railway. We can see it coming there from the right. And in Åstorp itself, the HHJ comes in from the east, leaving towards the southwest. LEJ passes through in a north-south direction, do an S-bend through the station, and SHJ, Skåne-Hallands Railway, will later build a branch connecting Åstorp to their main line at Kattarp, heading west. Åstorp was a major junction, but never had much industry, just some agriculture related small industry, brickwork of course, like everywhere else, and a quarry. The area is believed to have been settled at least since Iron Age. A heathen place of worship, first church was of course built on that very site, existed next to the foot of the southern ridge Söderåsen, as well as a 2,000-year-old burial site at Perselund just next to the rails here that we pass. The folklore story about Söderåsen, the southern ridge, is that a giant with a family in Denmark filled 2 bags of soil, creating the 2 ring lakes in mid-Skåne, to fill the sound so you could walk over without being wet, as we cross VGO. The bag he carried on the back leaked, creating Söderåsen, and when he realized, he got so mad that he emptied the other one as well, which created Kullaberg. Here we meet our sister train. VGO that we just passed is a small river. It follows the western foot of Söderåsen. The scale passes the river a little bit too close to Bjuv and creates only a very small space between the different lines in the area. We are just leaving Bjuv station. Bjuv became a small junction, all within HHJ's control. The branch line to Billesholm also opened in 1875. We'll do a cab ride there at the end of this episode. And the line to Hyllinge that just went off there to the right opened in 1896, first built by Hyllinge Coal and Clay Industry and later run by the HHJ. There are Stone Age remains found here. The church is 12th century and Bjuv is at the heart of Sweden's coal mining area. A few kilometers to the south are the other mines at Ekeby and Billesholm. A few kilometers to the north, the mines at Nyvång and Hyllinge, and coal was actually mined in Bjuv from 1872 to 1979. There is today a mining museum in one of the closed mines. The line circumvents the coastal ridge on the southern side. That's the Landskrona in Swedish, and had a real life some larger earthworks done to enable the construction of the line. As we approach Påarp station, which is the center of Sweden's cucumber growing. After the station we will start the descent into the Rå Valley, dropping 30 meters between Påarp and Ramlösa stations. Consul Petter Olsson took the initiative to the building of this railway. He was born in Flening outside Helsingborg in 1830 and grew up under poor conditions. He was deeply religious and an absolutist. He dreamt of studying to be a priest, but didn't have the money to do so. Instead, he started working as a shop assistant in his early teens, saved every penny he could, and at 22 he opened his own grain trading business just in time for the Crimean War. He made an absolute fortune out of it, and before he turned 40 he was the richest man in Helsingborg. We can see on the left there the Landskrona Helsingborg railway train passing. Peter Olsson was the leading man in Helsingborg in the late 1800s. He took initiatives for the HHJ, for Skåne Hallands Railway, for Skåne Smålands Railway. He was a member of Parliament from 1869 to 97, Lord Mayor of Helsingborg from 1888 to 1903, and German consul from 1870 to his death in 1911. He founded flour mills, brickworks, sugar mills, and a rubber factory, and he was a big benefactor of the city. And he was one of the first to see the potential in the sugar industry. So we are now heading into Ramlösa station. Ramlösa spring and its healing properties have been known by locals for centuries, but in 1707 the spring opened for public, attracting nobles and royalties and others with money. The purpose was therapeutic, but quickly turned into a party location. The water at Ramlösa spring has been available on bottle since 1912. And the park and the old hotel buildings and everything is still there, so it can still be visible. And some of the more prominent families around, they built their own small wooden summer castles next to Ramlösa, so they had somewhere to stay in class when they came to visit, because they sure did. It was very popular. And as we head into Helsingborg, we have already gone through that story in a previous episode. That will be the Landskrona and Helsingborg railway story one. As we head into the city, we can see all the railway stuff going on here, and we can see the station as it is now. So this is not the end of this cab ride. There's more to come, because we are just about to stop this one, and first we do an autosave, of course. We're just about to stop this one at Helsingborg station, and we will continue with the branch line in just a small split second. And here we are again at Bjuv station, coming in from the south, sorry, from the west this time. And we are going to leave Bjuv station, and we are going to turn right, and we are heading for Billesholm. Billesholm was a contested prize. That's where the first coal mines opened in the 1870s. And as we leave the station, we have the small river VGO just in front of us, on the left, coming up. Because of the scale, the line is built a little bit too close to the river. Actually, it's a little bit further away. You can see it, but not more than that. But anyway, it's the way it is with small scales. And on the left, here you can see Frams Gunnarstorps castle, built in the 1630s. The branch line to Billesholm was paid by the Valåkra Coal Company to secure access from the mines to the market. The coal fields in the area were attracting more attention, as both Landskrona Ängelholm Railway and later Malmö Billesholms Railway would eventually build connections to them from the south. Lund would also try, but was denied parliament approval. Coal mining started in the area in the small scale in 1744. Mining on an industrial scale was done from the 1860s to 1932, and on a smaller scale during World War II, including digging in people's gardens. So we have reached Billesholm, which is the end of this episode. So thank you so much for watching, and see you again soon, I hope. And enjoy Easter. Thank you.